Good evening and welcome to the Johnny Cleveland podcast. Hello, everybody. If you're watching on the broadcast live, I've got a crazy hair day going on right now. Not quite sure what's going on here, but it's been a wild and crazy day. Got back to work at schools, and our students started to come back today where I work. So it was good to see the kids. It has been over a year since we have really been in school with the group that I work with. So we've been doing everything virtually up till this point. So it's been really good to have that back. My son, who is in another school district, they actually started back full time every day of the week. Lots going on. Busy day. Gosh, what a day for Browns fans. It's been, we've anticipated a lot of things happening with the free agency beginning this week. Players can officially start signing on Wednesday, the 17th, St. Patty's Day. The day today started with the window where players could officially talk to these teams, which obviously they've been talking all along, but today was the official day. So late this afternoon, the Browns got in on the fun and the party, made a pretty big splash, got a nice safety kid by the name of John Johnson III. He is a third-round draft pick out of Boston College back in 2017, and really has had an outstanding career with the LA Rams. I think 8 interceptions to this point over his career, 105 tackles this past season. He's had over 100 tackles a couple other seasons. So it's a real nice pickup. He is a player that's got great instinct. Everything that you read about him today out there on the World Wide Web suggests that the Browns really did a good thing with this pickup. Obviously, the Browns secondary has been pretty much a disaster. They were relying so heavily on turnovers this past season, and when they couldn't force those turnovers, our defensive secondary was exposed. So grabbing somebody like John Johnson is just a really good deal. He signed with the Browns, or will be signing on Wednesday, reportedly a 3-year deal, almost $34 million, 24 of that million guaranteed. So really a good pickup. Should really solidify the Browns secondary, especially their safety position. Now they'll have Ronnie Harrison back there, along with the player that the Browns drafted in Grant Delpit a year ago, who unfortunately had that injury to the Achilles, wasn't the Achilles, I believe it was the knee. But he was out all year. But getting Grant Delpit back, hopefully healthy, and Ronnie Harrison will be healthy. Having now John Johnson there really gives the Browns defense and defensive coordinator Joe Woods an opportunity to really do some really cool things with some of their defensive packages. So looking forward to this. This is going to be fun. He's apparently signed for less money than he was offered by some other teams like the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe the Detroit Lions were in on that. Now, the news that just came out in the last 15 minutes, the Browns, still haven't connected with an edge rusher, defensive end rusher to counter Myles Garrett. There was some chat going on late this evening that maybe the Browns were going to get in on Carl Lawson out of the Cincinnati Bengals. Unfortunately, the Lawson just agreed to sign with the New York Jets. I mean, why? Obviously money, but the New York Jets aren't going diddly squat. They're not going anywhere. Carl Lawson will get his money, but he'll play for a crappy team, and life will be good for him. Anyway, so crazy hair day today. Got my Browns gear. I put the Browns jersey on if you're watching on the podcast, trying to bring some good luck today. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about the Browns and the free agents that are out there still. And we're going to talk a little bit about the NCAA tournament and what possibly could happen. They had the 64 team bracket come out, and so I've got that bracket here in front of us. We're going to kind of walk through that a little bit. And I believe Wednesday night, big night, I just been confirming with friends and colleagues from back there in Wichita, Kansas, good friends that are big NCAA tournament fans. They are going to join me for a special show of the Johnny Cleveland NCAA bracket show on Wednesday evening before the games start. I believe there's some playing games going to be starting Thursday, and then the actual other games that are the normal series are going to start on Friday, Saturday, and then even on Monday. The schedule's been changed a little bit because of COVID. Traditionally in the past, you'd have all those games. You'd have 16 games on Thursday. You'd have 16 games on Friday. I mean, if you worked anywhere at a school or a bank or wherever you worked, everybody was watching and listening. And, some of the school places I've been, they had their, they'd have their screens up showing the game. The kids would be watching the games in the schoolroom. So anyhow, a lot of fun. So those games will start on Thursday night. One of the playing games that I'm interested, coming from Kansas, coming from Wichita, the Wichita State Shockers. Fortunately, they lost in the semifinal of their American League Conference to Houston, they lost to Cincinnati. Cincinnati ended up playing Houston. Wife is an alma mater of Cincinnati. And so Wichita State gets to play Drake in a playing game, and the winner of that will play University of Southern Cal. Now, whoever wins the Southern Cal, hopefully Wichita State game, then would get to play potentially Kansas. Kansas, the Jayhawks have a first-round matchup with Eastern Washington. And so potentially it could be Wichita State against KU. Now, those of you who live out in Kansas, this is like a dream scenario. I can't recall even the last time that even happened. If anybody is watching the show or listening, let me know. I can't recall that the last time Wichita State Shockers played KU Jayhawks. I know Wichita State has always, when I lived there for all those years, always wanted to get K-State or KU on their schedule. I believe Wichita State has played Kansas State a couple times over that duration that I was out there in Kansas. But KU is stubborn. They don't like to play teams that can, especially from inside their own state, that can realistically beat them. And so I'm hoping that happens. But we'll talk a little bit more about the bracket here in a bit. So Browns are really in the midst of everything tonight. People are just on pins and needles waiting for that edge rusher to get picked up by the Browns. I think Trey Hendrickson is another player that from the New Orleans Saints who's out there that a lot of folks are hoping maybe the Browns can pick up as an edge rusher. There's other players out there that we've talked about. Hassan Reddick, he's a linebacker out there in Arizona that I really like. I'm hoping that maybe the Browns are actively pursuing him. So lots of things potentially could be happening. By the time I get off, I stop looking at my phone to see what the next potential signing is. Something else could happen in the next 30 minutes. Now, New England Patriots today had quite a very lofty day. They were signing all sorts of players, really decided to dive into free agency. Very unlike New England Patriots and Coach Bill Belichick. Obviously, it seems like from the outside that Tom Brady winning a Super Bowl without his legendary coach has really bothered Bill Belichick. And so the New England has gotten into the free agent market quite handily in the last day. So see where that goes. I see, the Browns, boy, I tell you, they're just in a good spot. I hope that folks out there don't get too annoyed. You keep hearing about other players that, okay, come on, Browns, pick up Bud Dupree, or there's a lot of good talent out there still that are free agents. Getting John Johnson III is really a good step. And the Browns don't need a whole bunch. Yeah, they need some help on defense, but Andrew Berry and the Browns front office is going to do it right. And they're being patient. They're being deliberate. They're putting out things and contracts that are good contracts. And if players want to make a pass on that, so be it. There's a lot of discussion. I was part of that several weeks ago with JJ Watt. I saw somebody on Twitter today say, well, we got our JJ now, referencing John Johnson because he goes by the nickname JJ. So we got the other JJ now. So excited about this. Hopefully you are. Come on, Browns fans. We got a lot to look forward to. The draft is right around the corner up there in Cleveland. It's going to be coming up at the end of April. Oh, just a month away. So lots of things. Today, just crazy observations out there. Kareem Hunt, the Browns star running back, opposite Nick Chubb, was supposedly in some trade discussions with teams like the Buffalo Bills, which is absolutely asinine. I mean, these people that come up with this crap and put it out there on social media have no clue. They just, I mean, it really is despicable. But Kareem Hunt isn't going anywhere. OBJ is not going anywhere. We talked about this. Going back to John Johnson, by the way, I don't know if you realize this, those of you who are real diehard Browns fans, and I didn't know this either, but you go back and you look at the highlights of John Johnson. He's got 8 interceptions. One of those interceptions happened to be at the very last offensive play the Browns had against the LA Rams back on that Sunday night game in September of 2019. I was there, actually left the game early before first LA threw an interception. Baker got the ball back with the Browns. They drove down the field with Freddie Kitchens, who couldn't make a play call if his life counted on it, and got down there first and goal. 4 plays for the Browns to score and tie the game up. The game was 20-13 at that point. Didn't even try to run the ball. Had an empty backfield. Tried just stupid plays. And on 4th down, he had Baker Mayfield running for his life, and he threw a kind of a duck into the end zone. And actually, it was John Johnson III, who the Browns now have, who intercepted it. It would have dropped to the ground, but he actually got an interception on it. So Baker Mayfield has been intercepted by John Johnson. And Baker Mayfield was very excited tonight. He said, let's go. Let's go. So he's pumped. Even Jalen Ramsey, a player for the LA Rams, who the Rams just picked up, they actually, he was out there saying that the Browns got a good one. And he should know. Jalen Ramsey's a pretty damn good cornerback himself. So saw some highlights of John Johnson tonight. There was a really neat one that the LA Rams put out last season where they fouled him during one of their games. It actually was the game against the Green Bay Packers, and they had a microphone on him. And everything you read about this kid, he's 25, by the way. And not that, the other point here, too, I mean, he's 25. Ronnie Harrison is 23, and Grant Delpit is 21 or 22. You talk about a young team. I mean, the Browns are building this thing from the ground up, and folks, it's impressive. But, you go back to this highlight of him. They had him mic'd up. He is just a vocal leader. Every time I listen to him, he reminds you of that offensive leader that I wrote about, Jarvis Landry, for the Brownies. He was very vocal. He will call the defensive plays. He will get the calls to come in. He will kind of manage the defense from the backside. And you just get this sense that he was really loved by his teammates and his players and how he interacts with those players. Very impressive. His coaches in LA couldn't say enough about him at the end of the season. Obviously, they probably knew that he was at risk of leaving the team because the Rams didn't have the cap space to keep him. So congratulations, Browns. Good job. And looking forward to seeing what this kid can do to help the Browns get and win a damn Super Bowl. That's what we want, a Super Bowl. That's what I've wanted. That's what you want. Let's go, Browns. Let's go get a Super Bowl. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. Go back to the NCAA tournament real quick. So we're gonna have a show on Wednesday with the guys from Kansas that are gonna join me. Looking forward to that. The coaches from Kansas are gonna join me. Not KU Jayhawks, but the coaches that live in Kansas. If you're following me. So looking at the bracket, there are those playing games I was talking about. Wichita State's got to play Drake. The other interesting game I've got, I follow the MAC. I wrote an article this last week that I recalled my story of when my daughter played at the University of Buffalo with the Buffalo Bulls and the great teams up there, and Coach Jack up there. They've had that women's side of the teams have done tremendous things. Gone to the NCAA tournament now, I believe 3 times. The men's team at Buffalo has done very well too. So they played in the MAC tournament up there in Cleveland. They got beat over the weekend, the men's team and the women's team. So neither of those groups are going to go to the NCAA tournament, though. The Buffalo Bulls are going to go to the NIT. They got an invite to go there. I did think they got a first-round matchup against Colorado State in case. Now, Colorado State's one of those 4 teams that didn't get into the NCAA tournament, but could get an invite if one of the teams for the NCAA can't play. So, all right, if you follow any of that, going back to the MAC. So one of the matchups I'm looking at is Ohio out of the MAC is going to play Virginia. Now, those of you who've been following everything with COVID in the last week, Duke isn't going to play because they had COVID cases come up in their group of players. KU also had a case or two, but apparently they've figured out who those players are. They're not going to travel with the team. But the other team is Virginia. Virginia, obviously, they've also won titles and gone to the Final Four and finals in the last several years. But Virginia has had some cases, and so they are quarantining. And the way that this bracket is working is that the games aren't starting until Friday or Saturday to give teams that 7-day cushion to test negatively so then they can play. So Virginia, for example, has to stay quarantined, and then if everybody tests negatively, then they can still travel. I believe they're going to travel like on Friday, and believe the game is on Saturday against Ohio. If they can't play, either one of these teams that are in the bubble that are waiting, like Colorado State, might get the invite to play Ohio instead, or Ohio might get the other team, like Virginia, might have to withdraw, and then that would give, I believe, Ohio like the automatic push over and by default. So interesting to see what happens with games like that. It's crazy, but a year ago, think about where we all were and what we were all thinking just a year ago. I mean, we didn't have an NCAA tournament. Today, Monday, we were all kind of shocked and going, oh my gosh, we're not going to have basketball. We're not going to have the NBA. We're not going to have the rest of this college season. It was a sad, kind of depressing moment in sports, if you like to follow all these things. So having the games back, getting to cheer on these programs, and like the article I talked about in my MAC tournament, when the Buffalo Bulls ladies team went to the tournament 5 years ago for the first time, it was just tremendous. And being a father of one of those athletes that got to see that firsthand, the commitment that these players give to the game, the time that these players give to the game, that heart and soul, is something that can't be experienced by everybody. And when you do experience it, it's something that will last a lifetime. And if you have an opportunity, if you're a family member, a parent, or a friend, and you get to see those things firsthand, it'll stick with you. And that's kind of what I wrote about in my article that I wrote on clevesports.com. So check that out. And I did write an update today about the John Johnson signing. So check that one out too. Wrote an article a week ago about Jarvis Landry, what a great leader he's been. All right. So to finish the bracket here, right, I'm not going to give you my predictions until Wednesday, but just looking at some of these games, Gonzaga, undefeated. A lot of people are saying, oh, they're going to go all the way. They're not going to go all the way, folks. If they are, I'll be shocked. But, I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. I'm good with that. But Gonzaga, they're undefeated. I mean, how many teams have gone through the tournament completely undefeated throughout the entire season? Not many. And I saw an interesting stat. They said there has been no team west of the Mississippi River to win a national title in the last 11 years. So Gonzaga, I don't know if you even want to play the games because you're probably going to lose at some point. So sorry, guys from Gonzaga, probably not in the cards. I do have them going pretty far, but not winning it. Now, the other team, I don't know. Maybe it's because Patrick Ewing is one of my favorite all-time players from the past, and he played at Georgetown, but now he's the coach at Georgetown. Georgetown, I don't know, the way that they demolished Creighton in their tournament game and the disrespect that Georgetown has gotten. I think Patrick Ewing got disrespected because they took his name down from the rafters at Madison Square Garden or something happened with that. He was personally pissed off about. Don't know the whole story on that, but Georgetown, I'm telling you, the way this bracket falls together, they're playing Colorado. Now, a lot of people like Colorado. I have Georgetown, kind of getting that upset. And then from there, Florida State probably will get through the first round, but Florida State never has complete teams. They can win a game or two, but they always make a mistake. So I see Georgetown as being kind of one of those interesting teams in this tournament. Alabama's got a couple really good players that could potentially help Alabama go pretty far. And, Baylor's on the other side of the bracket. I think Baylor will have a very good, run all the way up there. But now, again, Baylor's one of those teams that's west of the Mississippi. So if you follow those guidelines, I don't know. And then there's teams like San Diego. I mean, again, they're a Western team, so they'll probably get beat along the way. You got teams like Illinois and Ohio State. Illinois looked very impressive yesterday. I started watching the game, and I haven't followed Illinois. I don't follow all these teams constantly. And my first thought whenever I see Illinois is, well, they're never very good. So when I saw them playing Ohio State yesterday, I was very impressed with how they especially took control of the game late in overtime. They had control of the game. Ohio State took the lead before overtime, and just impressed with what Illinois was able to do. So I see Illinois going pretty far too. So we'll talk more about the final predictions there on Wednesday before the tournament gets started with the guys from Kansas. So looking forward to that podcast. So make sure to tune back in Wednesday night, St. Patty's Day. All right. Also, my public announcement for the day is, the COVID vaccines. I did get my second shot a week ago or so, and things are good. Was a little sore in the arm, had a little bit of, felt a little bit tired, a little bit achy, but I know a lot of people have talked about different various side effects after the second shot, but it really wasn't too bad. And I feel good that, I'm working in the schools and we were able to, we're all masked up, still keeping our social distance, but we all want to stay healthy. So I would encourage you to, if you have an opportunity, if you can have that chance to go get that vaccine, I would encourage anybody to consider that. All right. Okay. Had a conversation. It was funny yesterday. My son Grantman, he's a avid bowler, and we went golfing this weekend. Finally got to go out there to the golf course and over there in Johnstown, Khyber Golf Course. Great time. Grant drives the cart a little bit. We have our snacks and just have an enjoyable time out there. But yesterday, my wife Laura and I, we went over there to the local dog park. I've never been to a dog park before I moved back here to Ohio. And I'm sure maybe you've been to a dog park before, but wasn't really versed in dog parks. And so they have a really good one here locally. basically where you take your dog in large area in this park area. It's all zoned off and fenced in, and the dogs just kind of roam and uh, get to visit with other dogs. So we were over there earlier yesterday, Sunday, on this park, and it's just it's fascinating. My wife and I had started having this conversation when you start, analyzing things like the dogs and the people and their owners, and sometimes it's pretty comic, not comic. Well, yeah, comic. It's funny that the owners and the dogs kind of take on the same personality, or they look, or even their physical description of them. There was a taller gentleman who had these two beautiful, large, like, I don't know what the breed was. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but they were very, very massively big dogs. And this guy was a real tall character. So we thought that was kind of interesting. Now we have Rufus. Our dog at our house is Rufus. And Rufus is kind of a mix, obviously. He was a rescue dog. We figured out pretty much, we think that he's part pug, and then the other part we're not quite sure. But we start looking at different various dogs, and he's a smaller dog than when you compare him to other dogs, but just his persona, the way that he acts, and the way that we are as his owners, it is funny to see how animals and people, especially our pets, sort of take on each other's characteristics. There was another dog there that was kind of had some lighter fur, and the owners, they were they had they almost look, I mean, just the characteristics of these people just mimic the animals that they take care of. So just something for a good conversation. Maybe you've had that conversation before with other people, but it was a fun topic. So I'll leave you with this things. Did you know segment? I've been doing a little bit more research, found these topics kind of interesting. Earthquakes. So, back there in Wichita, they've been having all these earthquakes. All my friends have been reporting on social media for the last 2 weeks that they continually are having these mini little small earthquakes. Well, and they were having them when I lived out there too. Part of it is the fracking that goes on in places like Oklahoma and Kansas, and the water displacement underneath the ground. So frequently in the last week or so, it's really been a lot. And but I thought a little interesting. Was reading about earthquakes today, and in a recent football game between the LSU Tigers and the Auburn Tigers. I think they're both Tigers, right? They had a game, 75,000 people there down in the, I think they play in what is the stadium in LSU? I should know this. If you know it, tell me what it is. If you're watching the broadcast. All right. Anyway, it registered there. All the ruckus and the loud cheering of the fans caused an actual earthquake. They registered an earthquake down in Louisiana several years ago because of the crowd. Isn't that crazy? Also, did you know that back in 2014, McDonald's, home of the Big Mac, once tried to sell bubblegum flavored broccoli in their kids meal, or their kids meals, in their Happy Meals. They actually tried to distribute broccoli that tasted like bubblegum to promote good health. And what a bad idea. It didn't last very long for McDonald's. But I read that story and I was like, ugh, All right, last one, I think. Uh, um, did you know that in the movie Fight Club, those of you who are movie buffs, Fight Club with Brad Pitt and was it Eric Norden? That in every scene of the movie, there is a Starbucks cup in the movie. Had no idea. So if you are a big movie buff and like the movie Fight Club, go back and watch it and see if there is a Starbucks cup in every scene. Interesting, right? Did you know? Finally, did you know Antarctica? So I bring Antarctica up because, okay, my daughter Mariah and Matt out there in Seattle, they are big hiking partners. They go out, they do all this hiking. They actually did some snow boot hiking the other day, and they were sending back video to us where they were on top of these. They were up in the Mount Rainier Park area, and Mariah, my daughter, was showing how she could take her stick that she was hiking with and put it through what she said was about 10 feet of snow. I was like, you mean you're walking on top of 10 feet of snow? Yeah, kind of, she said, but it's compact. And I was like, what? Like, that's pretty dangerous. But she demonstrated on the videos. And, but this got me to the, did you know that in Antarctica, there's just not 10 feet, there are 7,000 feet of ice that Antarctica is made up of. 7,000 feet of ice. So not just 10. There you go. Did you know? All right. Finally, that's it, folks. I'm done with the Did You Know? Hey, guys, I hope you had a great thank you for joining me on the show. This is the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. You can follow us on the J Cleveland Pod on Facebook and on Twitter. You can email the show at jclevelandpod@gmail.com. Check out Zazzle.com as well, where we sell coffee mugs and t-shirts and sweatshirts that say Johnny Cleveland Podcast. I would love for you to support the show. I would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. Continue to follow us on Twitter. I'm trying to gain some more followers on Twitter. So I'll be giving away, I think we've got some golf balls, Cleveland Indians baseball golf balls to give away on Twitter. Probably going to be doing that maybe tomorrow. And then we'll have our big show back on Wednesday where we break down the NCAA tournament bracket with the guys from Kansas. All right, folks, have a great evening. And remember to, you got it, keep smiling.